10 minutes of pure panic from me, Steve McAlpine, and you. What's your name over there, buddy?
David.
David.
Remember me?
Yeah. David, you look like you shrunk a bit, but in the past few days, this virus is actually having a bad effect. And I've got my friend with me, and I'm not social distancing from Wilson today. Wilson, he's called Wilson. This is my volleyball for my castaway time. So he's going to go with me everywhere. And he may get used up a little bit, but we'll see. Someone said that we were crap, and someone else, or the same person might have said we were, what were we, Dave?
Cheesy. So basically, I've got a block of cheese every time you do something cheesy, which is going to have to be permanently be there. But actually, do you know, you see, it's Philadelphia cheese. We know what Philadelphia means, don't we? What does Philadelphia mean?
Brotherly love.
Brotherly love. That's where we're going. So basically, in this panic room, we love everybody. So say what you want, we still love you. Right, what we're going to look at today.
Look, Dave, we're going to look at sign of the times. What are the times about? Is this what's happening now, just a bunch of stuff that happened, to quote Homer Simpson? Or is it actually something that we can understand from a different perspective? So the same event can be understood from different ways. Now, speaking of time, I had a bit of time yesterday because it wasn't so busy at home and it wasn't so busy in the city. So I took a drive down to Cottesloe Beach and it was amazing. This is what we saw down in Cottesloe Beach yesterday. Everyone was social distancing for about 1.5 centimetres, getting their last swim in on a 37-degree day. So once again, we're being good little citizens and obeying the law. So I drove home after having a quick dip about the top left-hand corner of that picture. Anyway, that's where we're. So sign of the times, Dave. What do we mean by a sign of the times? How do you know that something's a sign?
I guess it's looking and trying to understand the situation that we're in. What does this mean? Is like with the coronavirus, is it a sign of something? Well, it's a sign that it's a broken world. Is it a sign that the Lord's about to return? I actually had somebody who wrote me and said, if you do COVID and you do the letters of it and you add them all up, guess what? It's 6 letters and it comes to 66, 666. So that's a sign of the times.
That's like the sign of the times. Yeah. I mean, I reckon there's going to be a novel with Tom Hanks, if he's out of quarantine, in it to do something about like the Da Vinci Code or the COVID code or something like that. So
yeah. I mean, I think there's a serious point here because I think people are getting very, very scared about different things. And I think they're trying to interpret by looking ahead, looking to the future. What might happen with this? What might happen with that? I actually heard some good advice today. It was great advice. I don't know what you think of this, from a BBC journalist who said, switch off your internet and switch off the news for 23 hours in the day. Get one reliable source for 1 hour. The rest of the time, leave it out. Obviously, they're going to include us.
Yeah, one reliable source for 10 minutes and you've got 50 minutes to make up for the rest of it. Yeah, that's what I reckon. Brought to you by the good people. That's right. So, obviously, talk to me about a great big fat book that you've read that I've never read. I'd love to hear about it.
Okay, it's Lord of the Rings. I'll make a confession. I'd always meant to read Lord of the Rings, but I saw the films first.
Oh, shocking.
But I have to say this, that they were a great advert for the books, and the 3 extended, if you take the Hobbit films, the extended editions, and the Lord of the Rings, the extended editions, I reckon by the time you watch them all, that all this dystopia will be over. But
and who has never watched it or seen it?
Oh no, Steve, honestly, you need to spend your time in isolation reading that book and looking at these films. But there's some amazing, we're going to put a clip into the bit later on from where Gandalf on Mount Moria gives some fantastic words of advice. I
wish the ring had never come to me. I wish none of this had happened.
So do all who live to see such times, but that is not for them to decide. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to us. There are other forces at work in this world, Frodo, besides the will of evil. Bilbo was meant to find the ring, in which case you also were meant to have it. And that is an encouraging thought.
absolutely brilliant. I think it's brilliant. Earlier on, he's got some other great stuff. He says, don't be so eager to dish out death and judgment. And he says, we can't understand all this. We need to understand what we do with the time given us. And one more thing that's just extraordinary. He talks about how that maybe this was meant to be. Now, he's not being fatalistic, but he's saying, look, in effect, God has brought you for such a time as this. And I think if we think about the meant to be, not in a kind of karma way, but in the way that God intends it, ultimately, even for good, that really helps us.
Yeah.
You know, you're meant to be. I mean, I believe.
That's the thing.
Keep going. Yeah, sorry.
I think that's the thing we're trying to get to, is this just a purposeless bunch of randomness, or is there purpose behind it? And I don't mean that, you know, we're trying to be taught a lesson, but is there an actual historical framework of things happening? And do we have a place in it? I think that's, and I love that Gandalf beard. Look, I tell you, by the time we finish the Panic Room, I'm going to have a beard down to about there.
Yeah, I wish I could do it, but I can't do it. I know I can't do it. I'd love to be able to go into a barber's and say, listen, I'm going to need more than 30 minutes because I'm going to need a proper beard trim. Yeah. But I can't.
I was worried about that. I was worried about that 30 minutes because I thought if they get to about 28 minutes and they've got only half done, I'm going to come out looking a bit shabby. So,
I think that this, you know, how people think about this. So for me, you know, Queen Esther was told in the Bible, was told, you were brought here, perhaps you were brought here for such a time as this. I feel, without being messianic or grandiose, that, you know, I'm here as a Scotsman in Sydney in Australia for such a time as this. I feel that those people who are watching this, I think you've got to look and say, okay, what is God really saying to us? What am I being told? How do I understand the times? And I would say that it's one of the things that it always is. It is a time to seek the Lord.
Yeah, look, I'm going to read a few verses from a book in the Bible, a gospel, a story about Jesus, where the religious leaders come up to Jesus, and he's done all this amazing stuff, and they ask for a sign from heaven. And he basically gives them a slap down, and he says, when it's evening, you say it will be fair weather, for the sky is red, and in the morning it will be stormy today, for the sky is red and threatening. You know how to interpret the appearance of the sky, but you cannot interpret the sign of the times. So in one sense, they're really smart, but they're not really wise. Do you think that's part of the problem we have?
I think it's a huge part of the problem we have, because I think we have a hubris as well, which says we can sort this, we can fix this, we can do this. And, you know, we don't even know what's going to happen tomorrow. I mean, many of us are working within organizations and they're saying to us, I'm sorry, we can't say what's going to happen tomorrow. Well, you couldn't say what was going to happen tomorrow anyway. We just thought that we could. And I think one of the things that's happened with this, with the bushfires, with the plague of locusts in Africa, I think the main thing that we're being told is we're not in charge. And I think it's also telling us that, we need to cry out. We need to look beyond that. So, I mean, it's strange. When you realize you're not in charge, you'd think you would panic. But when you realize you're not in charge, but somebody else is, and they are good, and they are loving, and they are all powerful, that stops the panic. That's what we're about.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly right. Like we're cheeky calling it the Panic Room, but we're saying there is something above us. If we go back to the Imagine thing that we looked at yesterday, nothing above us, nothing below us, that's the time to panic. But if because then you have to take control, and that's whether you take control of a little thing in your life or a big thing in your life. So the takeaway is understanding the sign of the times. You need something beyond yourself, outside of time, so to speak.
Yeah, you need something outside of time. You need the one who is timeless. Steve, I'm going to say goodbye to you for the weekend, so I'm going to see you on Monday. As my wife says, she hears your voice more than she hears mine, or I talk to you more. But we'll give it a break till Monday, and who knows what's happened by Monday. But I think we do want to encourage people not to panic. I mean, genuinely so. We can't tell you not to panic, but we can tell you to understand the signs of the times and to understand what we've been talking about. I think that's really important.
Well, until Monday, could you show me some brotherly love?
Yeah. No more cheese, mate. No more cheese. We upset people. Okay.
Well, Wilson here. What's that, Wilson? Yeah. Okay. So Wilson and I will see you on Monday. Thanks, folks. We're taking a break over the weekend. We don't know what's going to happen by Monday, but we'll be back here on air in the Panic Room.
See you guys. Bye.